Hello, everybody.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, making another video so soon after my last one. Crazy. Yeah, today I'm going to be doing a deck profile for a deck that I ran over the weekend twice. I ran it once at my locals in Brooklyn. So if you caught that stream, cool, awesome. You kind of already know what I'm doing here. You may have also seen my post on Facebook about it, but I made a few changes to the deck based on how it felt, and also some recommendations I got from another Discord I'm in. Shout out to STF if you're watching this. But yeah, I made some changes. I took it to Gordo's games, the Crit Hit charity tournament that they did, and I got 4th place out of like 70 plus players. 4th place going 4-1. So the deck did very well. I feel good about how I piloted it as well. Just going to be straight up. I'll take the credit a little bit for that. Because like you might think that a Green OTK deck is kind of a brain dead autopilot. You just swing for all the checks, Chaos Mon, swing for all the checks, and then you basically win on the next turn. In reality, it's not nearly so simple. And this is also a budget version of the deck. So it's a budget version because I don't have the promo Palmon, but I don't think you need them to do well. And hopefully getting 4th in this tournament is a little bit of proof of that. So let's jump into the deck profile. So, also, beautiful Matt here from Battlecore. I'll try to remember to put a link to their Google form where you can get an awesome playmat like that. Just a little shout out to some locals. Yeah, the first thing that we're going to start with here are the babies. The babies matter infrequently, but otherwise are not really that useful. Every now and again, the mechanic comes up. But because this is a Digiburst heavy deck, you usually don't keep them around. But we got 4 of this Argamon level 2. When a Digimon becomes unsuspended during your unsuspend phase, you gain a memory. So if you swing, something stays alive and you unsuspend it at the beginning of your turn, it'll gain you another memory, which couple that with the Mimi Tamer, you might start at 4 memory, which, 4 memory might be exactly what you need. And then we got 1 of the Budmon. We also have Digiburst dudes in the deck, so it gives Digimon with Digiburst plus 1,000. It's pretty straightforward. Play around with that if you don't like it, but I find these to be fine. Like I said, the eggs are not really the main thing that the deck revolves around. So, now we're getting into the rookie lineup. We have 4 of the Lalamon. I don't know how many Lalamons you might typically see in a Green OTK deck. The list that I sort of riffed off of and then edited didn't have 4 of these. I think I did like 2. I like 4 because it can actually allow me to keep my rookie count. I say low. 14 is not low, but 14 for like green, where you want to evolve a lot, might seem low. But because this has recursion when it gets digibursted, you have effectively 18, 20, 25, however many rookies, depending on how well you're able to use this with digiburst mechanics, because you get them back. So we have 4 of the Lalamons. It comes back to your hand when you Digiburst. We have 4 of this Dokunimon here. Dokunimon has an on-play of reveal the top 3 cards and add one of the cards that has Digiburst in those 3 to your hand. Helps you find your Lilamons and your level 6s, which all have Digiburst. Other than that, there's no other Digiburst, so if you're looking for that mid-range, this is not a good card, but if you just want to thin your deck, it can be useful. I also played this, and I just had turns where I just didn't hit anything on a lot of these cards that draw. The other one, specifically this one, though, I would just whiff that a lot. So if you're looking to replace one of the level 3s with anything, I would probably suggest Okunimons as the replacement. Maybe a 2-drop level 3, if that's what you fancy. I like it still because it's cycling through your deck a bit, but when you play it and you whiff, that does feel bad. Especially if something you want goes to the bottom of your deck. Then we have 4 of these Tentomons here. Tentomon, on play, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a green Digimon, add it to your hand. A lot of your deck is a green Digimon. You can't get your Tamers, you can't get your options, and you can't get your Chaos Mons off that. Otherwise, everything else is fair game. So, pretty good, just extra draw, basically. And then finally, we have 2 of the Wormmons to round out all 14. Wormmon has the on deletion effect. Reveal the top 3, add a level 4 or a level 5 Digimon you find there to your hand. This is really good if you want to throw something down, like if you know your opponent is probably going to delete your board anyways, like a War Greymon, and you're like, well, I don't want to give them too much memory. I don't want to just pass. Let me at least put this down and then get some draw out of it on the following turn. Or throw it down and know that you're going to get a security check with it. So you get a security check, it probably dies, and you get draw. It's pretty good. So that's a 2 count in this deck. I don't know if you need more than 2, to be honest. So that's all the rookies. We have 14 rookies total. Now going to the level 4s, the whole concept behind every single one of these level 4s is cheap evolution. So I have 4 of the Vegemon. 6K matters. I will just tell you this right now. I had several matches where, you know, against other green players, where if they had Nidhoggmon, 5 versus 6K mattered. Against something like Yellow War Gray, that number doesn't matter. But I still like it because also we have another card in the deck, a Tamer, that adds 1,000 DP. So 7,000, being able to have a Vegemon swing late game, they have to block. And the blocker is going to die because it's at 7K at least. So knowing that it survives, that kind of makes it annoying for your opponent. So I would recommend Vegemon over the Roachmon or whatever it is. I know Roachmon's only a 3-drop on Evo. 4-drop I think is fine to pay, to be honest. So I like Vegemon. The other 1-cost Evo is our blocker line. We do have Kabuterimons here. This one being 5K is a little worrisome in certain matchups, but you know, being a 1-cost Evo, it's good. It's just a 1-cost Evo is good, right? So it's another 1-cost Evo, and it acts as our blocker that you may or may not need in various games. And then the last of our 1-cost Evos, this is what changed a lot from the last one. I went with the Gargomon here, a 1-cost Evo. It's inheritable, might come into play in certain games of giving you plus 1,000 for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. You might be able to either swing over stuff or swing into security with a little extra DP, because again, we're not playing the promo Palmon that gives you jamming when it gets digibursted. So as much DP as you can get, the better. And I took out the, I don't remember the name of it, but there's like a Digizorption level 4 that basically you can go for free if you suspend something else. It's cool. This deck does not usually have a super wide board, so you're usually Digizorbing yourself to do that, and that always felt kind of bad because otherwise it's a 2-cost, which is fine, but I really wanted to prioritize the 1-cost, and I just ultimately felt like this worked. So 1-cost Evo into the Gargomon there. Also, it being a 5K drop is not horrible. You could consider Roachmon over this, but I think the Inheritable adds enough value to make it a consideration. Into the level 5, so that's 14 level 3s, 12 level 4s. So I upped my level 4 count as well for my original list because I felt like I had a few turns where I was missing level 4s, which always feels bad. So 12, I wouldn't go any higher because then you'll just end up with too many level 4s, but you know, I didn't have a problem with it afterwards. The next one is the level 5s. We have 5 of the Blossomon with Digizorption. So yes, it is a 3-cost Evo, but you can Digizorb itself or something else on the board to go into it for free. That's really useful if you're trying to get into the Grand Kawagamon or a Nidhoggmon, and you're only at a level 4. You can Digizorb into it and then go Nidhoggmon, and it doesn't matter if it's suspended, really. Or go Grand Kawagu into Chaosmon, and the Chaosmon will unsuspend itself so you can swing over something. So I would highly recommend the Blossomons. And then in terms of the level 5 lineup, we also have 4 of the Lilamon level 5. This one is just a hard 3 Evo, but it has a couple of nice things depending on where you are in the match. You can Digiburst to suspend something, and then you can swing over the thing you suspended if you're trying to do a little bit more board control at certain parts of the game, which I ended up playing this a lot more controlly than I think you would expect a Green OTK deck to play. But I found myself in a lot of situations where I felt like if I overcommitted to one Digimon, you just lose. So having a little bit of control elements here with the Digiburst or the Lilamon after you swing with the Inheritable to suspend something if you have a Tamer in play, all of that is, I really like that. So good card as the level 5. That's it. We're not running any of the Argomon. Argomon's just a card that, like, I took that spot at the level 5 from 9 to 8 to add 1 to the level 4. That's basically what I ended up doing. Deck, you know, I had some weird bricks, but I don't think it's the deck's fault. I just think you get unlucky, to be honest. But Otherwise, I think the deck ran fine. I mean, I ended up 4-1, fourth place. Fine, right? Let's get into the meat and potatoes. We got 4 Grand Kawagamon. This is kind of what the deck revolves around. If you don't know what this does, this is from the promo packs for BT4, the ones that you get with the box when you buy it. But its main is Digiburst 2. One of your Digimon gains security +1. So if you do that with the whole full stack, that's +2 security you can give to something. It doesn't have to be itself. So that's an important thing to note. If you have this and a Nidhogg on board, you probably want to Digiburst this to give the security to the Nidhogg, because Nidhogg will be 13 or higher. And that is less likely to die in security. So, but it being 11k is the reason that Palmon is played, right? There's a lot of decks that have 11k level 6s. Once you get over 11k is when you kind of are a little bit more safe. So you'll see in a bit what I also added in to help us over that hump. We also have 3 Nidhoggmons there. Nidhoggmon has, when Digivolving, Digiburst 4, so you have to have a full stack from egg all the way up. You Digiburst all 4 of them, you put everything that's suspended on the bottom of your opponent's deck, and then you also suspend anything that's level 5 that wasn't suspended and put it on the bottom of your opponent's deck. And you trash everything underneath. So it's a really good control card to sort of clear a board. Your opponents can certainly play around it to a degree, but again, you have the Lilamons. Depending on how your board is made up, you can manually suspend things, go into the Nidhoggmon, and, you know, clean up the board for yourself. And then finally, we have Chaosmon. Chaosmon here, 3 of those. This one has, when Digivolving, you can unsuspend it, and then you can attack one of your opponent's Digimon, and it has piercing. So I don't believe you can unsuspend and just attack the opponent. You have to attack a Digimon. So if there's nothing on board, don't bother. And I will say the security check bonuses carry over. So the whole reason it's called Green OTK, if you're not familiar, is you, in the perfect stack, you go into a Grand Kawagamon, you Digiburst 2 away, you have security +2, so you're getting 3 checks. You swing with Grand Kawagu, 3 checks. Cool. Then you go into Chaosmon on top of that, swing again, 3 checks. So at the end of your turn, you have taken away all of their security, deleted a body on board, and now have a 14k body in Chaosmon. So that's like what the deck's like perfect concept revolves around. You will, I find, like, if you're playing the deck correctly, you actually rarely get that perfect situation because, again, 11k is a little squishy at the 6th end. You got to get lucky. I was certainly not lucky. The number of times I swung something and hit the exact number was stupid, frustrating, but obviously you can still win if you know how to play around that. But yeah, that's the combo. So outside of that, those are all the Digimon. We got two Mimi here. Mimi starts you off at 3 memory, and if you have a level 5 green on the field of play, not in your raising, but on the field of play, you can suspend it to do the raising area thing again on your turn, whether that's hatching or bringing something up. So we have 2 of those. I know some decks play 3. 2 was okay for me. If you really want to find space for a 3rd, you can do that. But we also have 2. I'll put this one over here so that y'all can see it. We have 2 of this tie. All of your Digimon get plus 1,000 DP. So that's what makes this budget deck, I think, viable, is if you give yourself plus 1,000 to everything, things can survive in security checks. Things can swing over things they're not supposed to. A couple of examples. Grand Kawagu with plus 1,000 is 12k. 12k, there's only a few things that it dies to in security. It dies to Chaosmons, yes. It will die to like Nidhoggmons and Dandevimons and Mastamons, Millies and Omnis. But it won't die to War Greymons. It won't die to Shine Greymons. It won't die to Security +1 War Greymons. It won't die. There's a lot of stuff it doesn't die to. So it pushes you sort of over that hump to where the majority of level 6s played are now lower than it. If you get 2 of these down and you're 13, then really it's just the level 7s and Nidhogg that you got to worry about. And if you somehow have the inheritable from Gordo, yeah, maybe you can even survive that. But we have ties for that. Another situation that was nice is if you are playing against an opponent who also plays Chaosmon, get one of these on board. Now your Chaosmon has 15k at least. So it can swing over opposing Chaosmon. That's huge because now all of a sudden you're moving the biggest body on the board on their side, and you don't lose your dude in the process. You still get the piercing, you still get the checks. Gross. That happened to me in my last match. The last thing we play that's also, I think, really good in this current meta is a delicate plan. Because we are playing Thai and we don't have Palmon, so we don't have jamming. So what can we give our swings that will give us the advantage in security? So without jamming, well, let's turn off security checks, right? So what this does, and it has an errata, so don't read the card as is. But the errata is that tamer cards still come into play when you check them, but option cards don't activate. And with all the security control that's going around, this is a pretty broken combo. If you can get Thai and a delicate plan, you play it, you get 3 or 6 checks against the security control, and now the security does almost nothing. So that's gross. So I really liked holding on to these for turns, and you can do it in green, against green, so you don't hit a flower cannon, right? So like against a green deck, I swung Chaosmon, I gave it a delicate plan, so I'm like, I'm gonna pierce, you can't stop it. This last security that you may be hoping is a flower cannon, doesn't matter. This last security that you may be hoping is a hammer spark, doesn't matter. So that's critical, I think. And yeah, we have 2 delicate plans. Overall, I like the deck. I think it works really well. I think you need to really play with it to really understand the optimal sequencing plays. It can be very confusing at times in different matchups. And also knowing lots of different matchups is important. So yeah, let me know what you think of this deck. Again, 4th place out of 70 plus people. I don't do tons of tournaments, and I'm super happy that I did well in this one, to be honest. One day I'll get a first place win, whether it's a 20-person locals or what. One day I'll get a win, but we always got to lose one game. So, but yeah, thank you all for watching, and yeah, subscribe, all that good stuff, and Twitch and stuff. Bye.